Let's continue our discussion from the last page. So what's new here is we have variables out front. So for this one, let's do the same thing that we've been doing and just make a factor tree for our numbers. So 12 is 3 and 4, 4 is 2 and 2. Our index is a 2, so we are looking for groups of two things. We've got two 2's and a leftover 3. So we'll do negative 3 times 2, so that's because we're going to plot that 2. And then I'm going to write the x squared that's already there. And then let's look at these x's on the inside. So there's 3 of them, and since our index is 2, we're looking for groups of 2. How many groups of 2 are there in 3? Well, there's 1, so I know that I'm going to pull out one x, and I'll have 1 left over. And then if I write my radical, I'll have the 3 left over from above, and then that 1 x left over. Then if I multiply all those together, negative 3 times 2 is negative 6. X squared times x is x cubed, and then we have the square root of 3x. So the situation is very similar to what we've been doing up to this point. You just will combine any variables that you pull out with any variables that are already there. So let's look at number 18 now. So let's first break down our number into its factors. Let me find some good ones. So 2 factors would be 3 and 32. 32 breaks down into 2 and 16. 16 breaks down into 4 and 4. 4 is 2 and 2. And that would be the end. Now our index is a 3, so we're looking for groups of 3 things. So we've got those 3. Then it looks like we have no groups of 3 left, so we've got a 2, and a 3 left over. So if we go ahead and rewrite this radical, we're going to have the 7 that's already there times the 2 from the group of 3 things, the m that's already on the outside, and then if we look at our m's that are inside here, we're looking for groups of 3. We have 9 m's, which would be 3 groups of 3. So we know that we can pull out 3 more m's. And then that's everything that we can pull out. So we'll write our cube root. Left inside, we have the 3 times the 2 times the 2. And then there were no m's left over. So there'll be nothing left inside. So if we simplify that, 7 times 2 is 14. M times m cubed is n to the 4th. And then that will be times the cube root. 3 times 2 is 6, times 2 is 12. That'd be 14m to the 4th cube root of 12. Right, we've got just a couple more examples. I made a mistake on this. I renumbered it, but forgot to erase the extra numbering. So go ahead and just scribble out those extra numbers. They don't need to be there. Alright, so looking at number 19. So we've got that negative 3. Well, we need to break down the number inside. So 64, some factors of 64 would be 8 and 8. 8 is 4 and 2. 4 is 2 and 2. Our index is a 3, so we're looking for groups of 3. So we've got 3 2's here and 3 2's here. So we have the negative 3 that's already out front. And then we'll multiply it by a 2 from one of the groups and a 2 from the other group. And then the n that is already there. Oh, it looks like there's some m's, so we'll come back to those. Look at the n's first. So there's 4 n's, which means there's one group of 3, so we can pull out one n with 1 left over. And then the m's, there's 3 of those, And we're looking for groups of 3. So there's one group of 3, which means we can pull out an m with none left over. Then we can write our radical sign. There's no numbers left over, there's no m's left over, and there's one n. Then if we simplify, negative 3 times 2 is negative 6, times 2 is negative 12. 2 n's is going to be n squared, 1 m is m, and then we have the cube root of n. Alright, number 20. We don't have any number inside of our radical, looks like, so we don't need to make a factor tree, so we can just pull out the variables. So we'll keep our 2. Then I'm going to look at the x's. Our index is a 2, so we're looking for groups of 2. Well, there's 9 of them. In 9, there are 4 groups of 2, so I know I can pull out 4 x's, and I'll have 1 left over. And then we have the y squareds that are already on the outside. And then again, we're looking for groups of 2, and we have 2 y's on the inside, which means we can pull, that's one group of 2, so we can pull out 1 y with none left over. So left inside our square root, looks like we have just the 1x. So then if we simplify that, we get 2x to the 4th y cubed square root of x. Alright, let's keep going. So this next one, we do have a number inside, so let's break 16 down into 4 and 4, which would be 2 and 2. Our index is a 4, so we're looking for groups of 4 things. So if we start rewriting this, for our group of 4, we can pull out a 2. That doesn't get multiplied by any numbers because there's not any outside there. Then I'm going to write the m that was on the outside. And then we have m to the 8. We're looking for groups of 4, which means, and we have 8 things, which would be 2 groups of 4, so we can take out 2 m's. And then the n's, we have 12, which is 3 groups of 4, so we can take out 3 n's. And looks like we would have nothing left over. No numbers left over, no m's left over, no n's left over. So we would just simplify that, which would be 2m cubed n cubed. And that would be our final answer. Number 22, we have 40 that we need to break down into its factors, which would be 4 and 10. 4 is 2 and 2. 10 is 2 and 5. Our index is a 2, since it's not written. So we need groups of 2. So we've got one group of 2, and then we have a 2 and a 5 left over. So if we start pulling those out, we'll have the negative. Remember, this is like a negative 1. So we have a negative 1 multiplied by the 2 that we can pull out from the group of 2. And then we already have an x on the outside. On the inside, we have 3 x's. Our index is 2, so we're looking for how many groups of 2. In 3, we have one group of 2, so we can pull out an x with 1 left over. And then we'll do the y squared that's already on the outside. On the inside, we only have one y, which we're looking for groups of 2, so that won't pull out. So then we'll have to write what's left over. We have a 2 left over, a 5 left over. We had one x left over, and then the y that couldn't get pulled out. And so if we simplify that, negative 1 times 2 is negative 2, x times x is x squared, y squared, and then the square root, 2 times 5 is 10, x, y. Alright, 2 more examples. Number 23 doesn't have a number inside the radical, so we just have to deal with the variables. The index on the radical is a 2. So we're looking for groups of 2 things. Okay, so we have 10 x's. How many groups of 2 and 10? Well, that would be 5. So if we write the 4 and the x that's already out there, then we can pull out 5 more x's. The y squared that's already out there. We have 2 y's on the inside of the radical. We're looking for groups of 2. There's one group of 2, so we can pull out 1 y. the z cubed that's on the outside, and then on the inside we have 1z, but we're looking for groups of 2, so that won't change. So then we can write our radical. We pulled out all the x's, all the y's, and we just have 1z left over. So if we simplify that, we'll have 4. X times x to the 5th would be 6 x's. Y squared times y would be 3 y's. Z cubed times the square root of z. Alright, this is your time to shine. I would love if you paused the video and gave this one a shot, and then I'll go over it. Alright, let's see if this is what you did. So 64, we've got to break that down. 64 is 8 and 8, which is 4 and 2, which is 2 and 2. Our index is 5, so we're looking for groups of 5 things. It looks like we've got a group of 5 2's with 1 left over. So simplifying this, the 10 stays, the 2 from our group of 2 comes, and then we have our x that's on the outside. We have 7 x's on the inside. We're looking for groups of 5. There's one group of 5 and 7 things, so we can pull out 1 x with 2 left over. Maybe I'll make a note of that. There's 2 left over. Y to the 10, that would be 2 groups of y. So there's 1 y outside plus the 2 groups we can pull out. So there will be no y's left over, and then the z, there's only 1, and we're looking for groups of 5. So then we'll do our 5th root. We have 1, 2 left over, 2 x's left over, and the z left over. So if we put all that together, 10 times 2 is 20, x times x is x squared, y times y squared is y cubed, and then we have the 5th root of 2x squared z. Alright, hopefully that's what you got. If not, that's okay. You get a little more practice on the homework. And of course, our daily math pun. Math is, what's this thing called? Oh yeah, the radical. Math is radical. Alright, thanks for watching. Good luck with your homework.